What's up, Taiwan? I'm Yvonne Yang with news from here in Taiwan and around the world. What would you do in the event of a catastrophic emergency? Well, a new kind of civil defense drill is helping people prepare for exactly that. More than 1,000 people gathered in Tainan for the exercises that aim to include all aspects of society. Reese Ayers reports.
Extinguishing fires after a massive explosion and rushing civilians to safety as a tsunami approaches. Simulations of disasters that pose very real threats to Taiwan played out in the southern city of Tainan with this new kind of whole-of-society civil defense drill. It's all part of President Lai Ching-te's campaign to better prepare the country for whatever comes.
我们目的是希望能够打造台湾社会的韧性，能够妥善的因应当大自然发生天灾地变的时候。
Over 1,000 people, a mix of civilians and civil defense experts, have joined the drills. But notably absent today is the military, which usually plays a big role in disaster response.
那主要是展现在地方政府以及地方的民力，包括义警、义交这个民防，还有志工，他们对于发生灾难或是发生这个包括爆炸、包括海啸或是其他的复合性灾难的时候地方的营运状态。
One of the scenarios that simulates an explosion at a tourist center that injures hundreds of people, with much of the focus on response times and setting up medical infrastructure at short notice. More than just demonstrations, these exercises simulate real-life disasters, forcing the civilians taking part to improvise and act in real time as if it was a real disaster. And the people joining these drills say participating is their duty as citizens of Taiwan, a country under constant threat from the forces of nature and China.
因为因应就是说有一些比如说灾难的时候，那医院可能没办法正常运作，那需要把一些民间的医疗人力那集中起来做一些统筹的规划运用。
因为我们就可能真的会面对战争的危险，当然不希望有这种战争的发生，但是以防万一，大家全民就是要互相扶持这样子。
Officials say this will be the first of many drills happening across the country as Taiwan does its best to prepare for the worst. Scott Huang, John Su, Jaime Okan and Reese for TaiwanPlus.
Civil defense drills like these are becoming more central to Taiwan's defense strategy. But what does whole-of-society defense mean? To find out, Jaime Okan spoke to Raymond Guo, a security analyst with the RAND Corporation.
So Taiwan is jumping fully on this idea of a whole-of-society defense. What does that mean, and why is it important specifically to Taiwan?
So whole-of-society defense is actually part of a group of concepts which we might call total defense. You see this in a lot of different countries. Israel is probably the most kind of iconic example, but you also have many of the Baltic states, Finland, Singapore, even South Korea to some extent. The idea is that you're a small country facing a really big potential aggressor. How do you marshal the resources in order to be able to respond to this? How do you create defense in depth, especially when you don't have that much territory, you're facing a much larger opponent? Also, I think very critically, to be able to protect and shelter your own people. And then also to keep continuity of government operations. So not just where is your leadership, will they be okay, but also can you keep the lights on so that your society can still function, maybe at a lower level, but can still function despite a massive conflict coming at you.
When we look at the way that Taiwan responds to emergency situations like an earthquake or typhoons, we do see the military play a very big role in these kinds of operations. What is the benefit of letting the civilian side handle these kinds of situations?
So in an event of a military conflict specifically, you want your frontline troops to be at the front line. You know, if let's just say it's an invasion, well, you want the conventional forces, your best trained military forces, to be, fighting back on the beachheads and pushing the people and pushing the invaders out. The more that the military has to divert its attention towards, say, things like civilian protection or logistics, the less it's able to kind of move the most skilled troops up the chain to be at the point of combat or points of combat. The more that reserve forces or civil society can take up some of these civilian protection, logistics and resources, sustainment missions, the easier, the more the Taiwanese military can flow those forces to where they need to be.
And how does this help the average person in Taiwan who's maybe looking at this drill for the first time and wondering, what should I be doing in the event of an emergency?
Well, so it helps in a number of different ways, right? One is just if the bombs are falling, where do people go? Where should they go? You know, I don't know if I would be able to say, like, and I want to be clear, this is a really difficult thing. I don't think any country has ever had their civil defense system tested yet. You know, obviously major war, or I guess within the kind of the modern era. Everyone, all the countries I mentioned earlier, are still trying to figure their way through this. No one has a perfect answer. So at the very least, it's admirable that Taiwan is really kind of, the Lai administration is focusing and making this a priority.
That was Raymond Kuo with the RAND Corporation. Taiwan's space program is one step closer to blast off, with its rocket launch site now confirmed. Zhoupeng village in the country's southernmost Pingtung County was chosen based on its environment and development potential. Local officials say they hope the site will bring more jobs and tourism, including the creation of a space museum. Taiwan's space agency aims to have the launch site ready by 2030. Spring is in the air in Taiwan, and its iconic cherry blossoms are blooming up on Alishan. Visitors can see them via a special mode of transport. Tiffany Wong takes us there.
All aboard the Alishan Express. This 100-year-old train is chugging along the scenic railway in southern Taiwan, giving passengers a special view of the mountain's iconic cherry blossoms.
那其实简单的讲，我们是把我们的老爷爷火车头请出来，让他载送我们的旅客3趟。那所以它的运用，它不能像平常的一个交通每天运用。其实这个是很珍贵的火车头，所以我们大概只有在特殊的一些季节或是节日，我们才来使用。
Alishan is one of the most popular tourist destinations in the country, but the view from the tracks is not something everyone gets to experience. The cherry blossom train will only run 3 times this season, and it's a 6-hour journey up the mountain, but tourists say every second is worth it.
很新奇，然后那个樱花真的很漂亮，然后那个蒸汽火车在过弯的时候，那看出去，觉得然后再搭配风景，真的很壮丽。
玩不腻，还是想来，来了10几次了，也是都会想要再来这边看一下，看它有什么变化。
The historic railway has been in operation since the Japanese colonial era. The carriages are made from cypress wood, and the steam locomotive was originally powered by coal, now modified to run on diesel instead. But maintaining the train is still difficult.
那其实修复起来非常困难，因为当初制作这个火车的一个设计这个火车的公司，其实已经都没有在营运了。那所以我们现在不管是材料啊，一些机具材料，其实都没有了，所以维修起来其实相当困难。
A relic of Taiwan's history, these trains have survived for over a century, and they're still running. And as time passes, they've outlasted those who built them and carried generations of passengers who have come to admire the view. Joseph Wu and Tiffany Wong for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. You can visit the TaiwanPlus website or follow us on social media for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Finally, take a look at these cherry blossoms in Washington, D.C. I'm Yvonne Yang. Take care, and I'll see you next time.